obviously it was going to win the box office. It's the biggest movie at the box office this weekend. But, for example, Disney's Cinderella, which for my money is still the only good live-action Disney remake.
How old are you?
It was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who actually is a terrific director.
Does he mean the one with Brandy? Oh.
No, he's referring to the white one that came out like 10 years ago.
Emma Vigeland and some of the sprightly lads at the Majority Report talk about this Snow White, and in this clip they're making fun of Ben Shapiro's takes on it, and broadly speaking how the right is upset by this film, and that some of the pro-Palestine things that the star of the film said. And this is a long conversation. They go into depth on it, and they get pretty snarky, and I found it entertaining, which is why I am choosing to share it with you here. So let's take a look at it. I'll weigh in when the urge grabs me, and then I want to know what you think in the comments. Yo, here we go.
The right wing is currently, again, obsessed with a Disney film.
Mufasa, because the lions are black. They're voiced by black people.
That's a good guess, but this time it's about the live-action remake of Snow White, which... It's unfortunate because I really like Rachel Zegler. I really like her politics, but this movie is not something I would have seen even if the other lead wasn't a rabid Zionist who was doing the hosting those that trauma porn stuff about October 7th, these screenings in the United States, and was pretty integral to it. She served in the IDF as well. I think although she is Israeli, that's compulsory, but still is not somebody who has spoken out against the genocide by any means.
I don't know that I've ever seen a Gal Gadot movie, and to the extent that I can control it, I never will.
I saw Wonder Woman. The first one was good. The second one is one of the worst movies I've ever seen, and she is not a very good actress. So
she's not good in any movie I've ever seen her in. I've never seen a movie with Gal Gadot in there. I'm like, this movie is better because Gal Gadot is in it.
I can say that about Zegler. Like, she really elevated West Side Story, as did the woman who won Best Supporting Actress. I'm forgetting her name. But
ironically, all the people who are attacking Snow White because of Rachel Zegler, all the movie critics who've actually seen the movie are all saying that she is the highlight of the movie. Like, she's the one redeeming aspect of the movie. Like, she puts on a performance that saves the movie from being an absolute waste.
And that movie, it just is a waste, because what is just annoying about Hollywood right now is, especially Disney, this cheap kind of reimagining of old classic fairy tales and making them live action. I mean, they did it with The Lion King, and I saw that in theaters, and that, like, the technology was beautiful, and so you're kind of wowed by it for the first 15 minutes, and then you realize, like, they're just doing the same movie I know, but with different animation, and that's kind of how all of these have been. And so it's diminishing returns. People don't want to see this in theaters anymore. And maybe you shouldn't have done a $250 million budget on this kind of thing, especially when Snow White, the story, is really outdated, is not great when it comes to things like consent or the treatment of people who are of shorter stature. And that created this whole kind of situation. But I don't know if I'm saying the right term. I just want to be sensitive. My point is just like this fixation on this by adult men on the right. It's bizarre, but I bring you Ben Shapiro, who they're all blaming Zegler for saying free Palestine for the reason that this movie bombed, as opposed to everything I just said, which is that I don't think anybody was really interested in this movie to begin with, and they don't include the fact that Gal Gadot is a part of this as a reason that this movie bombs. It's just the fact that the other co-star was pro-Palestinian.
In cultural news, Snow White, there's been an enormous amount of controversy surrounding Snow White, obviously, because of everything from the original decisions with regard to casting to the insane, hardcore, nasty leftism of Rachel Zegler attacking her own co-star for being Israeli, and generally attacking men and suggesting that Snow White was a sexist story and all this.
Can you pause it?
Controversy has been dogging this.
How is it not a sexist story? She's kissed while she's sleeping without her consent. Like, this didn't need a new reimagining. It's just maybe best left in history.
To be fair, for this reimagining, they got rid of that. There is no prince. So they got rid of all that.
Okay, well then,
yeah.
And also, I
It's
thought that the
still-
main
yeah.
issue with casting in the beginning was that Rachel Zegler wasn't like white enough.
She's Latino.
Yeah.
That's what they were upset
that
about.
was the big issue.
Colombian,
All-
which again,
and there-
Latinos can be white, like too, like people who are like from South America can be white, but that's for
Well, the
average
Crowder
race.
team got in legal trouble because they were unable to understand that basic fact. But go ahead, Vader.
but also they changed that in the movie too. The Snow White being the fairest of them all is no longer about her looks or her skin color. It's about her literally being the fairest person to all the regular ordinary citizens of the land. That's what they changed it to.
I want the white skin.
The only fairness I care about is men and women's sports sometimes, and I remember too.
Well,
not about.
What's funny about this from a Daily Wire perspective is, and we've sort of talked about this recently, Jeremy Boring is out. Brett Cooper is out. Brett Cooper sort of raised an eyebrow at the removal of Jeremy Boring. Brett Cooper came to the Daily Wire starring in Snow White and the Evil Queen, which is her playing Snow White as like an actual fair-skinned Snow White. But now we don't know what the status of that movie is, which this would be the perfect opportunity for Daily Wire to be crushing right now because there's all of this like Zionist freak out about Ziegler.
Yeah.
But they can't because they're imploding
That's
themselves.
fun.
Who knows how far they've even gotten in filming that? Maybe it's not even ever going to be a thing because they
We
didn't
can watch
even
the
do it.
teaser after the fact.
Yes,
yeah.
we should.
Also, just quickly, as a movie fan, that's like a movie buff, I find the presumption that every movie is going to like be gangbusters to be such a weird thing that like only some movie companies allowed to of course, if we make Snow White, we have projected it to make $1 billion. And if it doesn't make that $1 billion, there must be some like deeper reasons. Like maybe no one wants to see this movie.
That's astute. There is this expectation that if the formula, like it's a beloved property, we're going to slap live people in it, we're spending X, therefore we should expect to get Y. And the fact that they're blaming one tweet about Palestine on the box office, where's the metric that proves people didn't come to see this movie on any given weekend because of something that the lead actor tweeted? It doesn't track for me.
That's what I'm saying.
Also, I should say that after the today ends and the box office money comes in for today, it's very likely it's currently sitting at number 7, the 7 highest grossing movie of the year so far. It's going to be number 6 after today. I mean, that's a failure in terms of how much they spent on making the movie, but I wouldn't call the 6th highest grossing movie of the year so far, only in its first week out, a failure. Like this is just
modern
like
media. That's if it doesn't make all the money, it basically made none of the money. But if you tell me like that you spent $500 million, just throwing a number out there, to make a live action Snow White movie, I would go like, you wasted that money. Why would you spend so much money on something like that?
We'll get to the blame game in a sec. Let's just let Shapiro finish because we have some developments from the multimillionaire producers who want to throw their actress under the bus.
This movie since the very beginning. So much so that the Daily Wire, I think we played a major role in basically forcing Disney to go reshoot it. Well, it didn't help, apparently. Disney's Snow White was essentially a box office dud. Early estimates suggested that they would take in 48 to 58 million in the first weekend. Apparently, it did 43 million in its first weekend.
Okay.
It cost $270 million to make.
Wait, so can I just say like 48? They projected 48 and they got 43? Like,
yeah.
Not okay.
Okay, it's a little underperformance.
It bombed. It bombed.
Why do I care this much?
I know.
Like, I like at the start of this, he's like, and culture news, the thing I actually like talking about.
Yeah.
And $70 million. Obviously, it was going to win the box office. It's the biggest movie at the box office this weekend. But, for example, Disney's Cinderella, which for my money is still the only good live-action Disney remake.
How old are you?
It was directed by Kenneth Branagh, who actually is a terrific director.
Does he mean the one with
that
Brandy? Oh.
No, he's referring to the white one that came out like 10 years ago.
I'm thinking of Beauty and the Beast with Emma Watson. That one was all right.
I've not heard of any of these.
Yeah.
They were all bad. All of the live action movies.
They're all bad.
The live action ones are not very good.
I've heard Dumbo was all right with Danny DeVito.
Yeah, but like, I mean,
that's the one that did the worst, actually, the Dumbo one.
All right, keep going.
$91.8 million in its opening weekend against a $138 million budget. both figures adjusted for inflation.
Is this politics?
But this live action remake is a giant fail. It is not doing well at the box office. When it comes to the Rotten Tomatoes score on this thing, even the critics are not in love with Disney's Snow White. It's clocking in at 44%. The cinema score, which is basically how audiences respond to the film, is a B+, which generally is not terrible, but it actually is quite terrible with regard to kids' films. Kids' films are graded on a curve. There's never been a Disney live-action remake that is graded lower than an A-, except for Snow White.
It's a B+. By one grade.
Americans are not in love.
By one grade. This is pathetic.
Also,
he's just mad he wasn't casted as Dopey in the movie. Like when they decided not to use like actual like. Sorry.
I mean, he did sort of hint at like what they should be like what makes their whole all this freak out from the right over this the most ridiculous. It is a kids movie. It is a movie made for children. Oh. Yes, you could look at it critically, but as a film critic or filmmaker, but at the end of the day, you cannot look at it without that added addendum that you are not the targeted audience. Yes. They made this movie for children, and kids are enjoying it, as far as I know, to the point where they're forcing their parents to give it at least a B+. Yes, I mean, but I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, just a little more of this.
Curve. There's never been a Disney live action remake that is graded lower than an A-, except for Snow White. It turns out Americans are not in love with the politics of Disney. I think this is the last gasp of old Disney. And when I say old Disney, I mean sort of the regime that decided that wokeness needed to be infused in every movie. If they keep going along this path, they're going to go bankrupt. I mean, they really are going to be in serious trouble. They can't keep churning out trash IP based on some of the greatest IP ever created and hope that audiences are going to keep showing up at the box office. Well, folks, in order to determine just how badly Snow White is doing at the box office,
now it's an ass. I just want to leave that in.
Theater kid.
Yeah, he's talking about IP. Kid. Yeah.
This is the theater kid version of the video game incels going like, they're ruining my childhood. Like, this is the theater kid version of that. He's upset that they took a Disney classic and made it for a targeted audience that isn't an 8-year-old or 7-year-old Ben Shapiro. Like, that's what he's upset about. Yep. It's the same freak out over Little Mermaid, the same freak out of any of these Disney movies. Now, look, them being bad movies is a secondary point to them. For them, it upsets them that anything was done to change what was theirs when they were children.
Yeah, I would even add the point, go a little further and say, like, some people just have a hard time understanding that they're not the target for every media. And I would even
white men.
I would a lot of people, and I would even, but mostly white men.
Yeah,
but I would argue that Disney is a big part of making people feel that way too, because they try, and media has become like this. It tries to be so widespread that people oftentimes feel comfortable articulating, as a grown adult, like Ben Shapiro, that like the Disney princess movie didn't make them feel as empowered as they wanted it to feel. But like Disney sells itself on being a place where like, oh, not just kids can go, but adults, and so you do kind of invite these types of criticism from people who think they should be making it. But yeah, I mean, probably people didn't see it because you can watch Snow White at home. You can put on the old Snow White for free and watch it at home, and it is definitely a better movie than whatever this was.
Look, I grew up, I wasn't that into princess movies, but I saw all of them, and by far Snow White was my least favorite. Like, Cinderella's better, The Lion King, Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas back in the day, although the story is horrible. Like, those are the kinds of things that I like those movies all more than Snow White, because Snow White, it's the IP, it's their original animation, so the story's pretty outdated. But
it's some of the best IP of all time.
Some of the best IP. Talking about intellectual property like that, like he's talking like he's a Disney executive and speaking about it in those cynical terms. But I just want to. Even the Ben Shapiro stuff is almost secondary to the thrust of this story here, which is that Variety, like I guess it was yesterday, published this article. It's like a trade publication for Hollywood, and this author of this piece has been doing these multiple hit pieces on behalf of, frankly, executives against people who are speaking against the genocide and other issues as well. She's on the Justin Baldoni train or whatever. But This is how this article frames it. After Rachel Zegler hit the stage at Disney's D23 fan event to introduce the first official trailer of Snow White, she thanked supporters exclusively in an X post. 1 minute later, she added an afterthought in the same thread, and always remember Free Palestine. Many inside the studio expressed shock that the Snow White star would commingle the promotion of its $270 million tentpole with any kind of political statement. A Disney executive raised the studio's concern with Zegler's team, while the film's producer Mark Platt flew to New York to speak directly with her. But Zegler stood her ground and the post remained. Brave, brave, brave. So Mark Platt is a mega producer in Hollywood. His son, Ben Platt, starred as a nearly 30-year-old man in the Dear Evan Hansen remake, which also, by the way, flopped at the box office.
It was a huge bomb. Way bigger bomb.
Snow
White. It was
panned by critics, but bankrolled by Daddy, mega producer, who's also a massive Zionist. His other son is this guy, Jonah, who I guess is a podcaster. He decided to respond to a comment on his Instagram post and then delete it, saying this. The person said, "Your dad flew to New York City to reprimand a young actress. Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. People have the right to free speech. No shame on your father." He responds, "You really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of an enormous piece of Disney IP. Again, this is supposed to be art. Stop talking about intellectual property. You
That's all it is.
It's not anymore. That's where we are. People have learned to supplant the artist with the company.
It's also not just these people. It's not just like right wingers, or it's the sad state of like where we are in today. Seriously, like so many people look at like the rise of AI and how people get excited that they could write a couple of words and art comes up as if they actually created something.
Yes.
There's no respect for art, artistry, the artist, the craft, whatever. You don't have to be a good artist.
Yes.
That's even subjective. The point is you made something with your own hands or whatever on the computer. You did it yourself. I'm talking about like, creating like digital art. You made it yourself though, and there is pride in seeing your creation, your idea come to fruition. That is belittled now, all for chasing the almighty dollar. Yes, money has always been a factor, but never before, more so than ever before. Now that is all it's about. How much money is something worth?
Yep. All right, let me finish
People
reading
don't even
this.
think it's art. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it's all right. So the Disney IP, blah, 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 with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family. Oh no, he had to fly private across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie, for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability, and her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on the movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged.
Take it from me, the son of a Hollywood executive.
Hey, Jonah, I'm not in Hollywood. My dad's not an executive producer or a big producer of a film like this, a multi-million dollar production. But do crew members, blue-collar workers get royalties? I don't really remember that. They get royalties, they get paid based on if the film is successful or not. I mean, I'd like to see the finer details of that. And even if that were the case, then you should apply the exact same standard to the film's co-star, the Zionist propagandist who was presiding over like the basically snuff films that were being played all over the country as Israel committed a genocide, to manufacture consent and to get people in this state of hysteria so they would continue to justify the slaughter of Palestinians over and over again. That can't have hurt the film's box office. I mean, for me, I'm never seeing a Gal Gadot film ever again. So, and I know other people who feel the same way. So that, like anecdotally, I would say that I know people that wouldn't see this movie because she's in it. I haven't heard that about Rachel Zegler. Zegler, but this guy seems to think that that's the sole reason, or the fact, hey, maybe your dad made a bad business decision. I don't know about that, because putting $270 million into a film like this seems like pretty stupid business to me.
And I just want to underline the idea that this is because of her saying Free Palestine, that is the most insane. The only person that could believe that is an insane narcissistic Zionist, which is what it appears Jonah Platt is. Did you see what his podcast is?
What?
Being Jewish with Jonah Platt. So,
Well,
I mean,
I'm gonna
there's a few things here. Number one, I got to highlight that line where he says that his dad, Mark Platt, had to fly and take time away from his family. You would assume he's talking about like a family with like little children.
Yeah.
Like Mark Platt's youngest son is like 35 years old or something. Like, you left your 35-year-old son at home to deal with this. I mean, give me a break. Give me a break. Talk about adult responsibility. Your dad had to go away, 35-year-old kid, for a day or two to visit New York City to talk with an actress in his movie. I'm sorry. Number two, again, if your dad is a very famous and very wealthy movie producer, and you clearly have a want to be in the business, and you're not, that really says a lot about how little talent you gotta have for your dad not to be able to put you in one. Just got to add that Mark Platt himself is a co-producer of one of those pro-Israel October 7th movies. Another point is that Variety reported that Gal Gadot actually had to be provided with a security team because of the threats apparently she faced. I got to tell you, I don't know. I'll believe it. I'm sure she did face threats, but I didn't really see it, and I'm sure most people didn't see those threats. I will say I saw a shit ton of threats against Rachel, what's her last name again? Zegler. I saw those all over the place from right-wingers. I also saw threats against the young woman who played the Little Mermaid in the Little Mermaid live action movie. I saw threats against the two John Boyega of Star Wars and the other woman, the Asian woman who was in Star Wars. Tons of threats against them. Did Mark Platt or Disney and Company, did they provide security to those people who received threats as well, or was it just Gal Gadot? Also, with all that said, I don't think politics played any role in the failure of this movie.
Yes.
Whether we're talking about Rachel Zegler or Gal Gadot's politics, most people don't, whether it's a pro or a minus, a plus or a negative, most people don't really think about politics when they go see a movie like this. What likely hurt this movie was all the controversy related to the creative decisions that went public, like them originally not having the 7 dwarves, and all those various different things that likely led to the failure of the movie as well. And plus, the critics saying the movie's just not that great.
Yeah, I mean, people just don't necessarily have an interest in seeing this live action remake because the remakes have been so poor repeatedly.
Also, none of them have earned. So I don't know where this projection was coming from their internal team, because only 5 of the live action Disney remakes have made over $250 million. And basically only one of those 5 was a princess movie, and that was Beauty and the Beast. And that was driven by like Emma Watson being cast as like Belle in that.
Yes.
All the other ones were like The Lion King, Aladdin, The Alice in Wonderland with Johnny Depp at the height of Johnny Depp's like funny accent, funny hat career.
And these were like 10 years ago when this was novel, as opposed to now when no one cares anymore.
Well, it's like in like 2015, the studios announced, oh yeah, there's going to be a new superhero movie for every like month and a half for the next 10 years. You're going to love every one of them. And it turns out like actually people get sick of this shit.
Yep. Ramona Frankenstein said, Emma, your Instagram post about this with Evan Hansen made me cry laughing so hard. I did send this, but whatever. We don't need to put it.
I missed it. I got to see it. That was a lot of people.
Look at this. I mean, this is the guy. Just go in the chat where I said this. This is the movie. His son. This is his son, Ben Platt. Doing some real hardcore acting as a high school student. I think I tweeted this out. Multimillionaire Hollywood executives when they're
playing a high school student.
Sadness over little babies being blown to pieces. Yeah, he's supposed to be a high school student.
He's a high school student? He looks older than me.
It's just watch the trailer if you want, and you can just tell immediately that this movie had no chance to succeed and was really merely a nepotism vehicle for this idiot's son.
But this is indicative.
I gotta say, Sam Cedar would play a more convincing high school student than that guy.
This whole
I like that. I like. Yeah, he looks like he's in high school. We all look like we're still in high school. Let's go with this. Let's go with this train of thought.
Yeah.
It's like that board member of who's like on the Axel Springer board, and he's like, this Politico thing is pro Hamas. This Politico report. I don't know if you saw it, that tweet out, but like this is why fundamentally we are where we are, where we're in like over a year into a genocide that's getting more and more acute, getting more and more exterminationist. Our institutions cannot call it that, is because it's all people like Jonah Platt, who literally goes in there thinking he's on the right side of the argument, saying, you really want to do this now? She should have shut up about any sort of thing about Palestine, and then you're blaming it on her.
Yeah.
That is nasty, nasty stuff. And you know, that's fundamentally, it's like, how do we expect to fight against this when Chuck Schumer's on the same timing when it comes to him thinking the United Nations is anti-Semitic? This is a hysteria right now, and it is getting people snatched up off the fucking streets.
I also have to correct myself because the live action Little Mermaid remake, which wasn't on the list I just read, the last movie that they complained about actually earned like $540 million in the box office. So clearly being woke is not the end all be all of making movies. People just probably didn't want to see this one. Like, you know, who is Gal Gadot to be the evil queen in this movie even? Like, that just seems like such weird casting. Like, I remember the last time they casted Maleficent was the evil queen.
Angelina Jolie.
Like, you know, that's like, you know, casting people would want to see in a movie. Like, no one is dying to see more Gal Gadot. Like, that's just the reality of it. Like, she's not a very good actress in anything. Like, they made a bad casting decision. So,
the executive producer is a Zionist, so of course.
But also, kids' movies don't run on the same schedule as other movies that go into movie theaters. Like, movies that are made for teens and adults, they have the ability to get their audience out to the movie theater opening weekend because their audience can make those decisions to go to the movie theater. With a children's movie, as we just saw with this latest Lion King movie, the live action Mufasa movie, which came out, was a bomb. And then a few weeks in, it's one of the highest grossing movies of the year with like $500 million. Kids' movies are based on when kids are available, when the parents are available to take the kids, and when the kids are on vacation, out of school, that type of stuff. So it's also possible that this Snow White movie will have a second life when, you know, kids are able to get to the movie.
Yep.
Like, spring break is coming up soon. It seems like a weird time to like release it before. Like, they could have released it around Easter break, and like probably would have done better for the first opening weeks.
And it's only a political conversation because Zionists want to smear a young woman for saying free Palestine.
Yep.
That's the only reason this is politics right now.
We stand with Rachel Zegler. Yep.
And if the movie did well, they would be saying, "Oh, it's because Gal Gadot." People love the blank face that she makes whenever she's acting.
There's a really funny clip someone filmed from the movie, like from the movie theater, and Gal Gadot like turns around and she lets out like a Scooby-Doo type noise. Like, it's like really funny. Have you seen it? Yeah, it's really funny.
What role? I haven't seen this.
Yeah. Conservative mind virus says Gal Gadot was only good in Wonder Woman because they chose to portray her as basically a space alien who can't relate to the world. She's also just she looks the part. She's beautiful, but you know, not on the inside.
Getting a little bit catty there at the end, Emma Vigeland. What do we think here, folks? Are we on the side of Emma Vigeland and the boys at the Majority Report, or are we fans of Gal Gadot and Disney? Did we like the Snow White movie, or did we not? I must confess, I haven't seen it, and I'm unlikely to. It's not really my cup of tea. But let me know what you think in the comments.